we are going to animate our camera. Right now, if we look through our camera and just play the animation, we can see that at several points, the camera ends up underwater. And also the camera is completely still because it doesn't have any animation yet. So we want to address both of those things. We want to keep the camera above the water at all times and also give it some animation. So if you look at the original here, the camera is moving up and down slowly and also rotating side to side. So that's what we're going to do now. Let's just minimize this for a moment and look out of our camera. If I go to display, or rather options, let's enable layer color. This is going to give us this gray preview of all the objects in the scene. And I'm going to go to display with lines just so I can actually see a bit better what's going on. So looking through our camera, what we want to do is pitch the rotation of the waves up. So if I press R for the rotation and just pull down this angle here, we can see the waves in the distance get higher in the frame and the ones closer to the camera get lower. We don't want to do this too much because we don't want to be able to see where the waves break into the horizon. We do just want to have a bit of tilt. So I'm going to set the pitch to 2.5 degrees. That's the rotation pitch. And also tilting up like this helps to sell the effect that this is a larger ocean surface, right? We want to make it seem as if the ocean just disappears into the horizon. Let's also go to the camera itself and just pitch it up by about 2 degrees just to keep everything as close to the center as possible. Of course, this now means we have to just go back to this mode for a moment, push up our sky there so that it's contained within the frame. Scrub through just to make sure that it doesn't dip past the horizon point. You don't want to have it too high where you see the original horizon. So keep that in mind as you're making some changes, and each time you just want to scrub through and check. And right here I can see that the horizon is visible there. The quality of that image is not high enough for preview. So let's go to editor in the material and set the texture preview size to, let's say, 1024. So now we can just see a bit better what's going on there. I'm going to enlarge it just a touch and then move it down slightly. So next up, we want to animate the camera. So let's click on this and go to the coordinates, and in the Y position at frame 0, let's see how far we can move it down before we would touch the surface of the water. So I won't go too far. Let's just go to -100 to start with. Hold Control and set that keyframe. And then let's move forward 3 seconds. If I just type in here 3, and this time we are moving up. Let's just go to, let's say, 0 and keyframe that. Move forward to 6 seconds. So I'm just moving in 3-second increments each time. And let's go down to about -20. The water is much closer this time, so we can't go too low. And moving forward once again to 9 seconds this time. Let's say 40 centimeters. I'm just kind of eyeing this up each time. And depending on the wave distribution of your scene, you may end up using some different numbers. So this time, let's go to -40. Select the keyframe. I think I have keyed X position there by accident. So, okay, this is supposed to be about 40. Let's continue once again to 15 seconds. And I'm just alternating between going up and moving back down again. So let's go to -50 this time. Set that keyframe. And of course, the last keyframe needs to be -100, which is the same as where we started. That's important because we want this animation to be looping still. Let's go to window and timeline, so we can see that animation we have just created, those keyframes, the position Y. I accidentally animated position X, so let's just delete that. This keyframe actually went lower than the previous one, so we actually want to bring this up so that we maintain this, sort of up and down motion. Okay. But now we see the camera moving up and down slowly, sort of with the motion of the ocean. In addition to moving up and down, the camera should also be rotating side to side. So I would just repeat a similar process, but with the rotation banking. So that's this last one right here. So we want to be doing this kind of tilting left to right. Not by a lot. I'm just going to be doing this by 1 degree each time. So starting at 1, let's set a keyframe, move forward to 3 seconds, and put in -1 and set that keyframe. Let's say 6 seconds. We could continue doing this in this preview window, or we can go to timeline. Let's look at those first 2 keyframes. And if I select both of them, using this bar at the top, I can hold Control and just copy this across. And I'm just following the same 3-second increments. And you can see it creates this seesaw effect. I think for the last one, we're just copying the 1 frame to the end right there. And as long as the first frame is the same value as the last one, we will once again maintain our loop animation. So now the camera is moving up and down and also rotating side to side. Now the rotation there is synchronized to the up and down motion. So let's actually make a slight change there. I'm going to delete the last pair of keyframes here and then select this entire track and then just expand it to fill out the entire timeline. So now it won't match up to the up and down movement of the camera. It's just going to be slightly offset. And I would say this result is a bit more organic. Before, it may have looked a bit too uniform. But anyway, that would be it for the animation. We can just preview any frame here to see how it looks. And just check some other frames. Generally, you want to avoid waves which come too close to the camera, because that might look a bit too weird. But I would say what we have right now looks fine. Alright, and with our camera animation finished, we can move on and create the other elements in our